So Unit 3 is going to be parallel and perpendicular lines. And today we are going to start on 3.1. Notes, which says it's called two lines and a transversal. Our goal today is going to be to determine angle relationships formed by two lines and a transversal. So we know what lines are. That is something that we've defined. They are something that goes on forever in two directions. Okay. But a transversal it's another line that goes through the two lines. Okay, so it's going to be intersecting those two lines. So a line that intersects two coplanar lines, so these two lines are coplanar at two distinct points. So a line that intersects these two coplanar lines at two distinct points is called a transversal. So if I take a straight edge, so find something like your ID card or the edge of your binder or something so that you can draw a straight line with. Okay. And we are going to draw in a transversal. So the transversal would be a line that just hits both of these other lines. Okay. It says over here M and N are two coplanar lines. Draw a transversal and label it T. So this will be line T. So we use a lowercase. Typically it will look italicized, T. So that's how we name a line. Okay. There are four vocab words that we use to describe relationships here. Okay. Whenever we're talking about angles, these new terms, we're going to be talking about an angle at the first intersection and an angle at the bottom intersection. The reason why we're not going to talk about angles that are up here, just label these, because we already know the relationships that angles 1 and 2 have. What type of angles are angles 1 and 2? Those are vertical angles. Now we also don't talk about what relationship 1 and 3 have because we also already know what relationship 1 and 3 have. What kind of relationship do angles 1 and 3 have? Those are a linear pair. What kind of relationship does angles 3 with angle 4 have? Vertical angle. What about 2 and 3? A linear pair. We already know that relationship. That has nothing to do with a transversal because that just has to do with two intersecting lines. Okay? Because of that, we already know those relationships. So today, we're going to learn more vocab words on how to describe an angle that would be up here with angles that are down here. So we will learn how to call angle 1 and 5 and say what type of angles those are, or like 2 and 5. But these four basic words down here are going to help us with that. So alternating means that they are alternating on different sides of the transversal. Okay? So I'm going to take two colors. Let me get you guys two colors. If we're talking about an angle up here and it's on the left side of the transversal, and when we talk about an angle down here and it's on the right side of the transversal, those would be on alternating sides of the transversal. So that's how I'm just going to show, is we'd be talking about a blue angle and a red angle, and we would say that those are alternating angles. These are angles on opposite sides of the transversal. Now here the transversal is the one that's running left to right because here are the two lines. So you'd be on the upper part of the transversal and this one would be on the under part of the transversal. Some people always like to turn their paper, and that's the beauty with geometry, is you can always turn your paper so your transversal is going vertical. If that's what you like to see, then cool, we could just turn our paper. And now it looks just like the other one. Okay, that's the beauty with geometry, is that you can just turn your paper and make something look like the same thing as what it used to look like. If we're talking about angles on the same side, okay, that means we're talking about the same side of the transversal. If we're talking about the left side up here, we're going to stay on the left side and talk about an angle down here. These two vocab words use the transversal. So they're either on opposite sides of the transversal or on the same side of the transversal. Here you'd be on like the upper part and stay on the upper part, or on the lower part and stay on the lower part. These are angles that are on the same side of the transversal. When we are talking about these words, interior versus exterior, these two terms are going to use the two lines. You're either going to be on the inside of those two lines or on the exterior of those two lines. Okay? So what I mean by that is if you're on the inside of the two lines, that means you're going to be talking about one of these angles and one of these angles, because all of those are interior angles. So you'd have one of the blue angles and one of the red angles, and we'd say that those are interior angles. Again, if you don't like the way this one looks, just turn your paper and make it so that that's a vertical line. Now it looks the same. You'd be talking about one of these two angles and one of these two angles, and those are interior angles. There are 4 interior angles. Okay, but remember, we're always going to be talking about one of the angles at this intersection and an angle at this intersection, because if they're at one intersection, they only take 2 lines, and we already know that those are either going to be vertical angles or linear pairs. That means if they're exterior, they're not on that interior. They're going to be on the outside, so one of those 2 angles with one of these 2 angles. Same thing over here on the exterior, so that outside are one of those 2 angles and one of these 2 angles is what you'd be looking at. Okay. There is a 5th word that's not up there. And if we use these 4 words, we'll use like alternating interior or alternating exterior or same side interior or same side exterior. We use one of these words and one of these words and combine them to figure out what 2 angles we're talking about. Okay? Corresponding angles is only one word that we use. We don't combine it with anything else. Corresponding angles are angles that are in the same position in respect to the intersection. So if I'm talking about the top left corner, that angle right there, the corresponding angle would be the angle that's also in the top left corner right there, just at the other intersection. If I were to slide this down, they would be overlapping there. Okay. If I was talking about the top right corner, the corresponding angle would be in the top right corner, but at the other intersection. All right, so do we have any questions on this page? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and flip this page.
What about the definitions here?
Oh, yeah, I guess we should probably write those in. So these are the angles formed between the two lines. And these are the angles formed outside the two lines. Is that okay? Interior, exterior, kind of self-explanatory. Inside versus outside, right? Okay. So what we're going to do now is we are going to use those vocab words to find a pair. Now, in order to be corresponding, it has to be a pair. So there are going to be 8 pairs here of angles between this diagram and this diagram. Okay? So to be a pair, we'll have angle something and angle something. So a corresponding angle. Raise your hand if you think you could tell me what a corresponding angle is. Remember, they have to be at 2 different intersections, and corresponding is in the same position. So if we're top left, we're top left. Go ahead. 13 and 15 will work. Is that okay? Raise your hand if you can give me a different one. Go ahead.
Angle 12 and 10.
12 and 10 will work. So angle 12 with angle 10 will work. Oh, I wrote 10 twice. 10 and 12, 12 and 10, same pair. Okay, what's another one? So we have 13, 15, we have 12, 10. Go ahead. 14 and 16 will work. What's the last corresponding pair there? Go ahead. 11 and 9, very good. Okay, that took care of the 4 that were on this one. Now we have to go over to this one, and there's going to be 4 more. So what's one that's over here? Go ahead.
6 and 8.
6 and 8 will work. Angle 6 and angle 8 is a pair. What else? Go ahead.
Angle 5 and 7.
5 and 7 will work. Okay. Another one. Go ahead. Angle 2 with angle 4. Very good. And last one. Go ahead. Angle 1 and angle 3. Very good. Give me a 1 through 5. I could name corresponding angles. I get what we're doing here. Awesome. Okay, so we're feeling pretty good about that. The next one is alternating interior pairs, and there are 4 of them. Since there are 2 diagrams, there are going to be 2 pairs on the left one and 2 pairs on the right one. They have to be on alternating sides of the transversal. Okay? They also have to be interior angles. So when we're looking at the 2 lines, we have to look to the inside of the 2 lines. So if you were to put your hands here and cover up the exterior, there's your interior angles. Okay? Now pick an angle on the left intersection and pick an angle on the right intersection that are on alternating sides of the transversal. What would be the pair?
5
11 and 15 would be one of the pairs. What would be the other pair? Go ahead. 14 and 10. Are we okay with that? If we look at 11 and 15, they are both on the interior sides of the inside of the two lines. They're also on alternating sides of that transversal. Okay? These also create, if we were to draw them, two lines, a transversal. When you highlight the first angle and then the second angle, they actually make a Z or a zigzag or a backward Z. So if you were to highlight 11 and 15, see how they make a zigzag? If you were to highlight 14 and then 10, they also make a zigzag. So that's kind of my trick with alternate interior angles, is that they always make a zigzag. All right, so we did the two pairs on this one. We have to look at this one and come up with the two pairs. So raise your hand if you can tell me a pair on this one. Go ahead. Angle 7 and angle 3 will be a pair. Okay, there's one more on that. Go ahead. 6 and 2. How do we feel about alternate interior pairs? Give me like a 1 through 5. I think I got that down to a 1. No idea where we're at, what we're doing, what these words are. I'm on vacation. My brain's on vacation. All right. Name all their alternate exterior pairs. So if I cover up the inside, the interior, here are my exterior angles. And I'm looking for alternate exterior angles. So they have to be on opposite sides of the transversal. Go ahead. 13 and 9 will work. Okay. What's the other one on this one? 13 with 9 or 16 and 12. Okay, that takes care of that one. How about on this next one? What are the alternate exterior pairs? There are two. Go ahead.
1 and 5.
1 and 5 will work. That's one of them. Go ahead.
8 and 4.
8 and 4 will work. Okay, how do we feel about the alternate exterior pairs? 1 through 5. Cool. All right. Name all the same side interior pairs. We have 2 on the left diagram, 2 on the right diagram. So same side of the transversal. Cover up one side of the transversal. And there we go. Okay, one side of my transversal is covered up. I'm looking for interior pairs. So which ones are interior on there? Which two of those angles are interior of the two lines? Go ahead. Okay, oh, you're looking at this side. We can do that one. 14 and 15 are on the same side and they are interior. Angle 14, angle 15. Okay, so you have the one on that side. How about the ones that are on this side? Go ahead.
11 and 10.
11 and 10. Okay, it doesn't matter the order that you're writing them in, okay, because it's a pair. Order doesn't matter, they're just a pair. All right, that means we got the 2 that are on the left. Let's look at the right diagram. We have 2 on that right diagram. What's a pair of same side interior angles there? Go ahead. 7 and 6 will work. And what's the last one there? 6 and 7, and then 2 and 3. All right, the last type of angle that we have to deal with are same side exterior pairs. There are 4 of them, so 2 on the left diagram, 2 on the right diagram. So we're looking on the same side of the transversal, exterior of the 2 lines. So we're looking here at the exterior angles on the same side of the transversal. Go ahead.
13, 16.
13 and 16 will be one. What's the other one on that one? 12 and 9. All right, so that takes care of my left diagram there. Let's look at the right diagram. Same side of the transversal, exterior of the two lines. What's a pair? 8 and 5. And if we took angles 5 and 8, what's the other one? 1 with 4. Okay. So that's all I have to show you for right now. If you go to the next page, there are 2 lines in a transversal, actually 4 different times. It may help, and I will come around with Post-it notes, if you use a Post-it note to look at one transversal at a time. Okay? So in this part, there's a transversal. You could cover up the top half, and you'll see that there's a transversal. You could cover up this half, the right half, and there's a transversal. There's 2 lines and a transversal. You could cover up the bottom half. So you cover up the top half, you cover up the bottom half, you can cover up the left half, you can cover up the right half. So it's good to use those Post-it notes because you want to focus in on the 2 lines in the transversal because that's how we learned how to name these diagrams. Okay? Name the transversal for angles 1 and 12. So look at where 1 and 12 are and cover up everything else in the diagram that you don't need that are not part of those intersections. And what's the transversal that forms the angle relationship between angles 1 and 12? What line is this? L. It has to be an L because we name lines with lowercase italicized letters. That's why it's important that you know how to name still, which was from way back in Unit 1, but we're still naming lines here. We're still having to name angles. We're going to still have to name points. Okay, so I will give you guys some time to work on this, then we'll take a short break.